Welcome, this is Markus Völter from Omega Tau Podcast. In mid-December 2017, I had the opportunity to spend a few days on the Royal Navy survey ship HMS Enterprise. As you can see here, I took a couple of videos that are a, if you will, very short summary of the real purpose of this stay on the ship, which is that I recorded about 8 hours of interviews for OmegaTauPodcast.net. I got the opportunity to, visit all parts of the ship. I witnessed, as you can see here, the man overboard exercise. I got to visit the engineering spaces, the management system of the ship, spent quite a bit of time on the bridge, and then of course interviewed more or less everybody. No, not really, but many interesting people and interesting and relevant roles to give you a real in-depth understanding of what's going on there. You can see here a little bit of rougher weather. It wasn't really bad, but the ship did start moving, especially on the last 2 days where the wind was picking up. You can see this is in the early morning, still relatively dark, and the crew is on the bridge, more or less minimum crew, the watch. And in this case, they're preparing for the wake-up call. The wake-up call is done with this pipe through the ship's intercom, which accidentally is also called the pipe for historic reasons. And every morning at 6 o'clock, the pipe is piping. Here's some more interesting wave action going on to wake up everybody, and we'll hear that in a moment. In the meantime, you can enjoy the waves and the ship's movement. Didn't get seasick, by the way. I took pills on the first 2 days, but wasn't a problem. So this was the wake-up call.
You hear that the ship is about to alter course and will roll heavily.
And that was also an announcement to the crew as they stumble out of their beds. Be careful, the ship's gonna move.
Will FPM selected, lead is 6. Port.
So on the last day on our trip, actually from Cyprus to Malta, we were going into the harbor, Grand Harbor of Valletta, the capital of Malta. And we were supposed to pick up the pilot who would guide us into the harbor at the usual pilot pickup point outside the breakwater. But because of the, as you can see, quite interesting weather, the pilot decided to join the ship closer to the actual harbor, actually inside the breakwater, where the wave action is much less. And you'll see in a moment the boat they use, pilot ship, to join the ship. They then climb onto HMS Enterprise from that small ship, and obviously the heavier the wind is, the more challenging that is.
And safe with 8 cables left to run to the wheel over in 4.5 minutes time.
And 7 cables to run visually.
So one guy is doing the navigation by essentially pointing the compass at known fixes on land. One guy is looking at the depth measurement through sonar. One person is looking onto WECDIS, which is a military mapping system coupled with GPS. And so they're cross-checking each other all the time. You can see about 20-25 degrees of roll. And roughly here, the pilot would have joined, and you can see that that's a challenge. can see the boat bobbing around right next to the breakwater. And in a moment you'll see it come alongside and him getting on board. There's also a tug, which we didn't use because Enterprise has a very precise, if you will, control system. It has 2 azipods and a bow thruster. And this way they also have this dynamic positioning system which can hold the position and also navigate like in absolute coordinates very precisely, and so there really isn't a need for a tug. I guess probably one is mandatory, so he's around, but he never connected. So that's like the last minutes, us using the dynamic positioning system to kind of move ourselves into a little small place where we would stay for a few, or where Enterprise would stay for a few weeks. Thank you very much to Captain Phil Harper, who made all this possible. If you want to learn more, there's 8 more hours starting mid-February on OmegaTauPodcast.net.